Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatinmirandasya Dhananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Om Vishnupadaya Krishna-prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shri Ashtatadeshatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadiyasya Yatovanvaya Vitarakas Charteshvapigneswara Tene Brahma Hridayadikavaye Muhyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayam Yatra Trisargo Mrisham Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastatu Hakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Hari Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahi Tejasvim Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahi Om Shanti 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 Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome to session 6 of the Bhagavad Varnam course. Today we will be continuing our discussion of Kala Chakra. We'll also see the orbital motion of the 9 planets, and then we will enter into the Jyotish part, which is there. So, as the message was also put, that it is very essential to have listened to at least to the last session, because we are going to continue from where we had left off. So, if there are any doubts with respect to the previous session, please let me know. Otherwise, we will begin. So today also we have shared the notes. You can, although there is not much in the notes, but still it is quite sufficient. You will get an idea what is being discussed. If there are no doubts, then we will continue. So, as we had discussed, we had when we had entered into the material world, we were discussing about the 14 planetary systems, also the so in our Hare Krishna. So when we were discussing about the 14 planetary systems, we had also discussed about the Kala Chakra, which is there. So of this Kala Chakra, above moon, we have the 27 nakshatras. Okay. So this Kala Chakra, generally, if in the Bhagavad cosmology also, if we have shared, of course, later on they clarified, but in the beginning it looks like a horizontal flat thing which is there. But the Kala Chakra is actually an inclined plane which is there. It is not flat, it is inclined. And the angle of inclination is 23 degrees. So it is situated at an angle of 23 degrees. Okay, and it is also revolving. It is revolving like this. It's not that it is stationary and it is just rotating. Okay, so revolving and rotation, they have a difference. Rotating is to spin around where you are stationary, but it is spinning over there. And revolving is the object itself is moving around a referent point of a referent center. So the Kala Chakra, okay, so suppose if my five fingers, they are different components of the Kala Chakra. So they all are moving in this. It is not that the Kala Chakra is moving, like it is rotating, but it is in its entirety, it is revolving. And it is vertical and inclined. And the sun and other planets, they also revolve. They have a vertical motion also, which we had discussed. That's why we have the Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. Sun. During Uttarayana, the sun goes up, it climbs up to and goes very near to Mount Meru. Mount Meru in the sense, near in the sense that it is above the Milky Ocean only, which I think so is the third or the fourth ocean. Everybody will check it out. During Dakshinayana, it is right above the Manasottara. Okay, and it is on 180 planes which are there. So each ray climbs to one plane of one orbit which is there. So it is like a pyramidal structure, as we had discussed in the Bhagavad Cosmology book also you can find, or in the notes also you can find it. So it climbs for 180 steps and then it descends downwards. This is the motion of planet Sun. Okay. After that, for Moon also, it also has a vertical motion, but its orbit is very less. So it covers the entirety of Kala Chakra within uh, about 27 days. And the Kala Chakra, as we discussed, it is also revolving. Now all the planets, they are moving at a lesser speed compared to the Kala Chakra. So they cannot catch up with the Kala Chakra. That's why you see it is like a anti-clockwise direction, because the Kala Chakra is moving in a clockwise direction, as we discussed also. And if there is another object which is relatively moving at a slow pace, then from that object's perspective, you will see that it is, or even from the third point of view, third person point of view, you will see that it is lagging behind. And that lagging behind, it is known as the anti-clockwise direction. Or in this language of Surya Siddhanta, it is known as westward direction. So if it is moving in a clockwise direction, that is known as eastward revolution. And the anti-clockwise direction is known as the westward direction in the language of Surya Siddhanta. Okay. So now we will be discussing, we will take further this discussion based on Surya Siddhanta. Now, the Surya Siddhanta book was spoken by Suryadev himself, or to be more specifically by one of the Ansha of Suryadev. So before going to this, the significance which Surya Siddhanta has is, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had translated this book from Sanskrit to English, and along with the Siddhanta Shiromani. So Siddhanta Shiromani is a book written by Bhaskaracharya, and it is, you can consider it to be the Vimla Prasad, since Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he only says that it can be considered as an extended commentary to Surya Siddhanta. So, and Danivir, his name is Danivir Goswami Maharaj, with a team of professors, they translated it from Bengali language to English language. And Srila Prabhupada also, he writes in one of the letters that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's version of Surya Siddhanta, it can be very helpful for us while we are designing the Vedic planetarium in TOT. And because he had written this book, he had translated this book in Bengali, he got the title Siddhanta Saraswati. Before that, he was known as Vimla Prasad. And when he was school going, 13 or 14 years age, That time he had translated it. And it's a very complicated book. People are, they say it is impossible to study. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in his introduction to this book, he writes that it is difficult, but however, if one uh, very slowly, at a slow pace, goes through the different chapters, we will understand. So this was the background for Surya Siddhanta. We have his great Bhavaneshwar Prabhu. He has of course, the translation is done by Ranveer Maharaj and his team of professors. Right, Bhavaneshwar Prabhu, he has written a book explaining the first two chapters of Surya Siddhanta, and they are now they are doing this research. Okay, so from their research only, we are the current today's Kala Chakra portion is based on. The story of Surya Siddhanta is that uh, Maya Danav, he had performed intense austerities uh, to obtain the knowledge of the movement of the luminaries. Okay? And his, like the word which is used in Surya Siddhanta is Graha Charitam, and I don't remember the exact words, but it is the Achintya word is also because it is, as we will also see, it's a very complicated, a very um, just marveling way the whole of Kala Chakra performs, the way it moves about. So Mayadana, he performed austerities. Suryadev appeared. He said that I'm very pleased by your austerities. I don't have time to actually teach you. So my Amsha, he will come and he will give this knowledge to you. Okay. So this knowledge is technically spoken by one of the Amsha of Sun God. Because the Sun God, he has to, drive his chariot and he cannot stop. Suryadev never stops. Then the Amsha of Suryadev, he narrates this knowledge to Mayadan. And he begins with speaking about time, that how time is of two types. One, the divisible time, the eternal time, and the non-eternal time. The Sanskrit terms is the Chandakal and Akhindakal. So the eternal time which he talks about is uh, the time. See, first we need to understand about time a little bit to give you a background with respect to what is time. In our case, when we talk about time, our measurement of time it is based on the movement of planet Sun. Okay? On its movement only, we have the calculation of our days, of our nights. Paksha, not Paksha is related to moon, but the calculation of um, the year is also based on time factor. Okay, but the time factor, and it is also as we have discussed in the previous to the previous class, that it is the cause of creation of this material. The Lord's glance it consists of kala, karma, and sabhava. Now we have to understand that actually time in the divisions which we have from seconds to hours to years, time is not that. It is because you, even after the end of this world, time exists. Time is actually eternal. There is no conception, there is no divisions in the time. We do this so that we can keep track of things. We can keep track of change which happens in this material world. Now, in the modern term, it is used for many more things. But essentially, why we use time to keep track of change or transformation, which is. And Prabhupada also, if you can read the purport to the verse 3.10.11, it's a very important, very nice purport. So Prabhupada will explain about time. Where is Prabhupada? He writes one line. Metaphysically, time is distinguished as absolute and real. Absolute time is continuous and is unaffected by the speed or slowness of material things. Time is astronomically, mathematically calculated in relation to the speed, change, and life of a particular object. That is sun in our case. Factually, however, time has nothing to do with the relativities of things. Rather, everything is shaped and calculated in terms of the facility offered by time. Prabhupada, in very nice English, he gives the phrase um, is calculated in terms of the facility offered by time. Okay, so time is not the seconds, or it is a facility which is given by time and which we make use of. Furthermore, Prabhupada says time is the basic measurement of the activities of our senses, by which we calculate past, present, and future. But in factual calculation, time has no beginning and no end. Time is not subjected to any form of psychology, nor are the movements objective realities in themselves, but they are dependent on particular experiences. Time is not subject to any form of psychology, nor are the movements objective, nor are the movements objective realities in themselves, but they are dependent on particular experiences. That is, the movements which we have, they are not the objective realities in themselves, okay? But they are dependent on particular experiences. Now, it's a very, really, it takes a lot of maturity to understand what this line means. The object, nor are the movements objective realities in themselves, but they are dependent on particular experiences. When we talk about, right now the time is 8:26 p.m. And so this is one moment of time. And if you ask someone, if someone asks you what is happening, you will say that we are listening to a session. Someone asks me, I will say that I'm giving a session. Okay. And we say, so yeah, the class timing, the class was from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Okay. But it has to be understood that this experience which we have, although we are uh, um, uh, qualifying this experience with the facilities of time, but this experience is not an objective, it is not an objective reality, but it is a particular experience which we have experienced, which we are going through. Okay? Because the reality is the experiences which we have, it is not objective in the sense. I mean, I hope the definition of objectivity and subjectivity is clear. Objectivity is something which is absolute, and subjectivity is that which changes according to different people. Okay? Like uh, uh, um, you can say some food stuff which is there, or food items. So everyone has their own peculiarity in the taste. It is a subjective thing. Or I mean, so there are many things which are there which are subjective in nature and not objective. So these experiences, they are also objective. They are subjective and they are dependent on a particular person, the way he sees reality. It is not that we see the entire reality which is happening in this moment. And the way we see, in that way only it is happening. Reality is what is happening, okay? And in this material world in which we are bounded to, change is what is constant. There's a famous phrase. The only thing which is constant in this world is change. And to measure that change, we have time. Okay? So therefore, in Surya Siddhanta, it is mentioned that time is of, so one is the eternal time, and other one is the non-eternal time. So like that, they he begins with the time. Then he says that this non-eternal time which we have, it also has two types. One is so instantaneous that we cannot measure it, and another is the measurable time. That is 8 by 13,000, 8 upon 13,500 of part of a second. Okay. So like that, he gives the measurement, and you can now also see in the notes which were shared. So the first which we have, the Kala Mihida, which is there. So 6 pranas, they make one Vinadi. 16 Vinadis, they make one Nadika. 16 Nadis, they make one sidereal day and night. Akshatram Ahoratra. Okay. So Divas means day. Ahoratra is what? A day plus night. Complete day which we talk about. So you can find the calculation which is there. One prana, roughly you can say it is 4 seconds. One Vinadi, that is 6 times of a prana. Nadika, which is 60 times of one Vinadi, or you can pala, so you can say. And one day is about 16 Nadika. So he talks about his division of time. Okay, what we have in what we commonly know is different, but in different scripts, in different shastra, different terminology is used for the calculation for the units of time. Then the next one, which we had already discussed, but still I'm just going through it, that we have one year is about 365 Savanamana, Savan years. So Savan is a solar day from sunrise to sunset. Okay, and the left column which you see, that is the Devta day. Then one Chaturyoga is about 12,000 Devta years, and one Manvantar is 71 Chaturyoga, one Manvantar Sandhi. Okay, so what happens is between two Manvantara, there is Sandhi which is there. So destruction takes place over there at that time. This destruction is up until Bhuvantalam. And then there's a break period. This break period is for about one Satyayuga. So therefore, if you know, one day of Brahma has got 1,000 Divya Yugas. Now, and it has got 14 Manvantar, and one Manvantar has 71 Chaturyoga. Now, 14 into 71, if you do, that comes out to be 994. What is the other 6 Chaturyoga? The other 6 Chaturyoga is the Sandhi which we have between the two Manvantara. So we have the 14 Manvantara, so 14 Sandhi, and one at the beginning. So 15 Satyuga. Now 15 Satyuga, if you multiply by the years which Satyuga has, that is 17 lakh 28,000. Okay. If this term you divide by the period of one Chaturyuga, that is 43 lakh 20,000, that comes out to be 6. So that is by 994 plus 6. That is 1,000. In that way, we say that there are 1,000 Chaturyugas which are there. Now, each of this Chaturyuga, so they are Kali Yuga, Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And there are the terms like 1 and double of that is Treta Yuga, double of Kali Yuga is Dwapar Yuga. 3 times of Kali Yuga is Treta Yuga, and 4 times of Kali Yuga is Satyuga, which we have already discussed. Okay, I'm not going through that part. And each of the Yuga, it also has a Sandhi period at the beginning and at the end. And each Sandhi is 1/12 of the total span of that particular Yuga. Like our Yuga, Kali Yuga is 4,32,000 years. Now, if you take this 432 and divide by 12, 1/12 part of it, the answer comes out to be 36,000 years. So this is Sandhya. And at the end also there is a Sandhya, which is again of 1/12 part. That is Sandhyamsh. So this is Sandhya, that is Sandhyamsh. So both of them, they are 1/12 part. And 10/12 part is the middle portion, which is there. That is how they do the calculation. Okay. Now, after that, in the notes, you see the mean eastward revolution and mean westward revolution. So all the planets are moving in the clockwise direction. Kalachakra and all the planets. As we have discussed, but the planets, they fall behind the Kalachakra. Therefore, they kind of have, they see, if you see it, it is moving in an anti-clockwise direction. This anti-clockwise direction is known as westward revolution. And then when this westward revolution is completed, the whole cycle is completed and it returns back to its original position, that position is known as 1 year and not the eastward revolution. Because eastward revolution of the Kala Chakra, the sun is doing every day. Okay, but it is the westward motion which is considered in Jyotisha and in everything. All the calculations which we have, it is in the anti-clockwise direction. Therefore, you will see this: the number of eastward revolution and the westward revolution. Sorry, the anti-clockwise is known as the eastward direction, and the clockwise is known as the westward direction. Why so? Because in clockwise direction, it is moving towards the west motion, and the in the uh, anti-clockwise direction, it is moving backwards towards the east direction. That's why I flipped the definitions. That is how it has to be. So nakshatra, if you see, the nakshatras, they are covering about 1.5 billion uh, westward revolution. 1.5 billion times they complete the revolution. Now the planets, they also complete roughly the same amount, because like sun is lagging behind 1 year. So just it is uh, because 1 year is one degree difference is there. So if you multiply it by how many years in like in throughout the kalpa, in a Chatur Yoga, in this case, we have is given in the Chatur Yoga. You can also multiply it for a kalpa also. So you will see this way. But when you consider the eastward motion which is there, that is the year, or that is the whole calculation which we talk about. Also, the next table you can refer to. So all these tables, I have not made this. This is from the Surya Siddhanta book of formation. So you can just see through it. Okay, the number of risings per yoga, Chatur Yoga, and also the daily motion is also given. So you can actually do this. So you can take 15, 82, 237, 828 divided by 15, 77, 97, 828. Okay. And uh, so if you do this division, then you will find the same ratio which is there. 15, 82, 37, 828. So the Kala Chakra, it is covering the 1.5 billion times rising is there. And Sun, Moon, Mars, because they have, each of them, they have a different speed and they cover the different number of risings which are there. And now if you divide and if you see it daily, what is the angular velocity? How much degrees they are covering per day, that calculation is also given. So it is just by dividing if you divide the 1577, 197, with the 43, 20,000, you will get that digit which is. So that is how these calculations are there. Now comes the little bit of technical part which is there. Before that, also in Surya Siddhanta, it is mentioned that this Surya Siddhanta was spoken in the current Yuga cycle only. We are in the 20th cycle of the 7-month Para. So at the end of this Chatur Yuga, this Divya Yuga, Satyug, this knowledge was spoken. Okay. Also, it is also mentioned that, so as we know, every day Lord Brahma he creates. So at the end of the Brahma's day, all the planets and they all merge back into Mahavishnu, Bhagavatsya Vishnu's body. And then at the beginning of the another day, the next day, the lotus again sprouts. Lord Brahma divides the lotus and he creates the world as it was in the previous time. Now, this this process of creation by Lord Brahma, it also takes time. How much time? It is the actual motion of the planet's energy, the creation continues up until the midpoint of the Satyuga of the fourth cycle of first month. I mean, I hope you understood. Like this Surya in the verse is from the beginning of the current day of Lord Brahma to the creation of the planets, constellations, devatas, asuras, and other moving and non-moving planets and moving and non-living entities by Lord Brahma, about 47,400 Devta years were completed. This, if you compare, if you convert it into the number of Yuga cycles, it comes out to be the mid of the fourth uh, Satyuga, the mid of the Satyuga of the fourth cycle of the first month. Till that time, he's creating, and after that, the uh, creation is set forth. So when the creation is beginning, all the planets they all are aligned. One, they all are at the 0 degree of nation, and the timing is in the Lanka, in the Sri Lanka, which we have. Then, so we have the maritime line which is passing. Okay, now they have shifted it. The Britishers they thought that they are the center of the universe, and they shifted it from here to the green line which we have to London. But actually, it is the original is from the passing through the Sri Lanka and also through Ujjain actually. So at that time, the planets they were all in one line, and when they began moving, it was at the Pratipat Tithi, that is the first Tithi of the Shukla Paksh of the Chaitraman, uh, 12 at the 12 o'clock in the midnight. Okay, so at that time, you can say that the planets they began to revolve around, and roughly you can see the calculation of time commence from that point of time. Okay. Now, uh, the another thing which is there, so when the whole circle has 360 degrees, 1 degree has got 16 minutes, and 1 minute has got 60 seconds. Now, this in Sanskrit, the term is Kala, Vikala, and Anukala. So, 1 degree is Kala, 1 degree has 60 minutes, that is the Vikala, and 60 seconds, that is the Anukala. So, this is the um, Sanskrit terms for it. Now, please understand. Okay, are there any doubts, or we will move further? Because now complexity increases. No doubts?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, this Kala Chakra, it's rotating rotating, right? So is it like it's on its axis it is moving, or it is just rotating about that this thing?
The Kala Chakra, it is not rotating on its axis. The whole of the Kala Chakra is moving. So suppose
Revolving.
this is my Kala Chakra.
It,
This
so
is
it is
the
revolving. So it is
yes,
revolving.
it is revolving.
Okay.
It is not rotating on its own axis, but the whole of
So
the Kala Chakra is actually it is not the
and
revolution is also not the correct word. If this is the Kala Chakra which we have, um, let's take my phone. So
hmm,
now it is not that it is moving on its own axis, or it
hmm,
is that it is moving in this. The all the objects, everything which is there, so it is tied to the pole star.
hmm,
Everything, all the rashis, all the grahas, and everything, they are tied to the pole star. Okay, and they all of them they have their own orbit. Like moon has a very short radius orbit. Sun has a huge orbit. So all of them they rotate. Okay, it is in this all these objects which are there on the Kala Chakra, they all are revolving at different speeds. Clear?
and Prabhuji, what do we mean by day of 1 day of Kala Chakra? You said in the beginning.
one day of Kalachakra, one revolution of Kalachakra. Revolution in the sense when it comes back
Okay.
to its rotational position. Kalachakra has no, I mean, we use Kalachakra for calculating time. Okay, there's no day and night. So in the Kalachakra, the Navagrahas are there, the 12 Rashis and 27 Nakshatras are. They are right on the Kalachakra. If you can see that image, which is also there. So Kalachakra, because it's a circle, it has got 360 degrees. Each and every, if you divide it into 30 parts, 30 degrees, that is, the answer is 12. So these are the 12 Rashis. And also we have the, just along with it, we have the 27 Nakshatras which are. So these things, these objects, they move with the Kalachakra. So their speed is same with the Kalachakra. But the other luminary objects, the Navagrahas which are there, and other, there in Jyotish, there are many other um, mathematical points which is Lagna, Hindu Lagna, Lagna, L-A-G-N, RH. Lagna is a mathematical. So these, these are mathematical. They are not some real objects which are there. They also rotate, but they have a, they cannot cope up with the speed of Kalachakra. So they are moving at a different speed. And then they are revolving. The other planets, the other luminaries objects, their calculation, their completion of a year is with respect to Kalachakra. So if they have begun from, let's say they've commenced from point A, and again when they come back to point A, that is known as their 1 year. The Rashi Nakshatra, because they travel with the Kalachakra. So when Kalachakra comes back to the same point, the Rashi Graha there also 1 year is complete. Sun is moving, it is moving at 1 degree, it lags behind by 1 degree. Okay, so it falls behind, it takes a little bit more time to complete the chakra. And other planets, they take more and more, like Saturn is the slowest of them. Jupiter takes about 11.86 years. Shani, we will see that the numbers. So we have to understand that power and how power is going here. Explain me that the entire Kala Chakra, they all are moving. Okay, clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
It's clear completely.
Yes, Mati. Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
So, Hare Krishna. So I'm audible, right? So it is showing me a message that
Yes, Prabhuji, you are audible.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, you are audible.
Okay. We need to show that it is. Okay. So, what were we discussing about? Ah, so, okay. The Kala Chakra, and we see that the planets they are revolving around. Okay, we draw a circle and they are covering. But it is not that the planets they revolve with a constant speed. There's a variation in speed also. Sometimes the planet is moving very fast. Sometimes the planet is moving very slow. Okay. So it is not a very constant motion which is there. In a simplistic way, it is in that the diagram is there. But if you see, if like those of you who know about Cartesian geometry or who know about the graph, so if there is a circle and there are four quadrants too. You can see in the page on page number 2. So it begins from the uh, top right side. So that is the first quadrant. Top left is the second quadrant. Bottom left is the third quadrant. Bottom right is the fourth quadrant. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first and the fourth quadrant, the speed increases of the planet. In the second, third quadrant, the speed decreases. Okay. So the planet is revolving, but over there it is revolving with a higher speed. But here it is when it is coming to the second and third quadrant, it moves with a slower speed, which is Now this speed adjustment is by the pull and push, which are there by the, so these planets, as we discussed, they are tied with a rope made up of Vayu, okay, to the pole star. And also they have a Prabha wind which is there, which causes the pull and push. So when there is a push, the planet is moving fast. And when there is a pull, the planet moves with a slower speed. And because of that, there is a variation in the motion of planet. The planet just doesn't move in this. Suppose, I mean, now this is the best way of visualization. Now, if my face is the Kala Chakra, now this is the planet. So it is not moving this way. Where it is over here, it moves with a high speed, and here it is slowing. And it is not a circle also. Planets, their orbit is not circular in nature, it is elliptical in nature. Also, the Kala Chakra, so now this is, if this is the Kala Chakra, it is not exactly the orbit which the Kala Chakra is. It is exactly on, all the points fall on the Kala Chakra. Some are, because this Kala Chakra you need to understand, so we will cover that later. First we'll focus on the horizontal motion only. So the planet is revolving, sometimes it is fast, sometimes it is slow. Also, this is the Kala Chakra. Sometimes the planet is a little bit lower the Kala Chakra, sometimes it is higher than the Kala Chakra. 1-2 degrees above. That vertical motion is also there. Okay, because of the wind, sometimes the planet it is drifted away, sometimes it moves above the Kala Chakra, sometimes below the Kala Chakra. Okay. Now this I am saying with respect to the horizontal Kala Chakra. The Kala Chakra is actually inclined. So on this inclined plane, sometimes it is not that the planet is moving in this way. Okay. Sometimes it is above, little bit above, sometimes it is below the Kala Chakra. Now the technical terms from each of this is, when it is moving at a faster pace, it is known as Shigrocha. When it is moving with a slow pace, it is known as Mandocha. And this vertical motion which is there, that is known as Pata. Okay. So because of this, the revolution of the motion of the planet, if you see on page number 46, which is there. So for the first image is of Mars. The left side is the corrected mandap motion. So we don't have the proper motion, but you can say, so it is moving in a perfect circle. Okay, but there is a Shigroch and Manroch which is there. So because of that, the orbit of the sun is little different. The Mars is little different, and actually it will become complicated for you to see this way. So we'll talk about that later. So just understand again, I'm repeating. The sun, sometimes the planets which are there, it is sometimes moving very fast, sometimes it is moving very slow. Now to understand the true motion which is there are two terms, mean motion and true motion. Mean motion is when it is revolving, when we assume it is an approximate motion, the planet is moving at a constant speed. So true motion is the actual position of the planet at a given point of time. To calculate this true motion, Puri Siddhant, it says that the planet which is there, those of you who know about the term epicycle, so you have a circle, and then there is another circle which revolves around this circle. Okay, it has a radius much smaller than the reference circle, and it is also revolving around the circumference of this circle. So this is known as epicycle. This circle, it is revolving around the reference circle, and it has got some radius. This is known as epicycle. So the motion of the planets, to understand about Shigroch and Mandocha, so for Shigroch and Mandocha, they draw an epicycle which revolves around the reference cycle. And what is the reference cycle? That is the Kala Chakra, which is there. And then they have the correction, because the correction in the sense that so mean motion is what the motion which which is assumed that there is the motion, but then it is corrected. 4 corrections are applied. Okay, the Shigrocha correction, the Mandocha correction. And when we apply that correction, then we get the exact true motion of the planet. explain this motion, that Surya Siddhan talks about the epicycle when the epicycles are drawn around the uh, referent circle which is there. And then there is a huge trigonometric, it is basic trigonometry only, sine theta, cos theta, very just manipulation of that. And we come to the true motion. So we are of course not going to go through the mathematical derivation because it will become very complicated. Those who are from the non-scientific background, it will become very difficult to catch up through this. But you can just understand that the simple thing is planets, they do not move with a constant speed. They have a change in speed. Sometimes it is moving very fast, sometimes it is moving very slow. Because of and the planets, their orbit is not circular. So it is not that all the points of its orbit is along with the Kala Chakra. It is elliptical in nature. And it is sometimes going up the elliptical plane, sometimes going below the elliptical plane. Elliptical plane meaning the Kala Chakra. Okay? Also, uh, the and because this is inclined, so it is above and below. It's not on a horizontal plane, but it is on an elliptical plane, which is there. First thing. Second thing is that uh, to understand what is the true motion, Surya Siddhant and all other Siddhants, they also they talk about the epicycle which is there. And through the Shigroch and Mandoch epicycle, we actually calculate the true orbit of a planet. Okay. So the understanding is that to the mean motion which is there, you apply the Shigroch, you consider it as Shigroch. The mean motion is it is moving at a constant. When you apply the correction of the factor that it sometimes moves slow is considered, and the factor that it sometimes moves with a high speed is considered. And with that comes the true motion. So that is known as four correction algorithms which are. And then when we get the correct motion of the planet. So on this before that on the second page, the last table which is there. So, Paridhi is the technical term for the circumference. So Shigra Paridhi, so we talked about the epicycle which is there. Now what is the circumference of that Paridhi that is given, right, in all the four quadrants which are there. Next is the max. So now on this epicycle the planet moves. So there is the Kala Chakra, there is the epicycle which is moving. On its epicycle, on its circumference, the planet actually moves. So then at some time it is at the max deviation from the true motion. At some time it is at the least deviation. So those calculations are given. And when we apply it, we get the true motion of the planet. And that is why sometimes it is known as retrograde. Because the planet is falling behind Sun. It is moving in a, not falling behind Sun, it is moving in a reverse direction. That's why for Mars, for Mangal, you can see the third picture. That is the actual motion. And if you see, zoom in, so that curve which is formed, that is known as the retrograde motion. So once in a year, Sun goes, once in the year of Mangal, it goes in retrograde motion. So retrograde, it is moving in reverse direction. Next is for Jupiter. So first, I mean, that picture is not there over here, but it's the mean motion which is there. A simple circle which is the revolving. Then we consider the Mandoch correction. Then the Shigroch correction. And then both the corrections are applied simultaneously. And then you get the cycle. So it is 12 times a year. So Guru goes 12 times in retrograde motion once a year. What is the implication of that retrogression? We'll see when we talk about Jyotish. And similarly for Shani, Shani takes about 30 years to complete one cycle. So 30 times it goes retrograde. And similarly for Mercury, Surya also, which is there. So any doubt on this? It is a little difficult, but you can send the references. You can actually listen to Pavneshwar Prabhu's explanation. You can also read the Surya Siddhanta. But this is what it means. Okay. He gives the visual representation and the mathematical background Apart from that, in short, in glimpse, in summary, this is what the gist of the entire Kala Chakra which is there. So all the planets, they have a different speed. They have all of them, they move sometimes with a high speed, sometimes with a decreased speed. There's a vertical motion also which is there. And to aid to know the true position of the planet, because it is useful when we are casting a chart or for anything which is there, any Vedic thing. It is said that the Vedas which are there, it is protected by the Vedangas which are there. Diksha, Chanda, Vyakran, Nirukti, Kalpa, and Jyotish. So, Krama Rakshaka and Artha Rakshaka and Anushthan Rakshaka. So, the Para Rakshaka which is there, that is by the Chanda and Siksha. So, the pronunciation of the Vedas, it is governed, it is protected by the Siksha and Chanda. The Artha of the Vedas, it is protected by the Vyakran and Nirut. Meaning, by Vyakran, we can actually understand the true meaning of the Vedic sentences which are there. Any Anushthan which is there, the timing, what is to do. When a particular Vedic activity is to be performed, how it is to be performed, the methodology, the correct time, that is protected by the Kalpa and Jyotish. So, it is very important, very imperative to know the correct motion of the planets, because that way only we can actually know, we can perform the Vedic rituals which are there. So, to know the true motion of a planet, we apply the 4 corrections which are there. The half Shigrocha, half Mandocha, then half Shigrocha, then full Shigrocha, and like that, half full Mandocha, that is there. So, to know the true motion of the planet, okay? That is how it has, because there are degrees. So, the mean motion, it says that it is a 27 degree. But the true motion can be, there can be a deviation of 6 degrees also. So, in true motion, it is not at 27 degrees, but it is actually in the next bracket. We can take a simple example. If it is at 15 degrees, so there's a difference of 6 degrees. The true motion is at 21 degrees, which is there. Okay, so that big difference is there that has to be considered, and it is the anti-clockwise direction of the planets, anti-clockwise revolution, which is considered. They have Shigrocha, they have a Mandocha. There is also the vertical motion which is there of the planets. With all these factors, we have the true motion of the planet. Okay? And Prabhupada explains that it is like an inverted tree which moves around the post. In the TOVP, actually, we will see how it is evolving. Okay? So this is how, with this, we have completed the portion of Kala Chakra, which is there. Okay, is all the luminary objects which are revolving around the Kala Chakra, and they are moving with varying speeds. Some planets they are ahead of Sun. Okay, Guru and Shukra. So their position is mostly calculated taking the epicycle with respect to the Sun. And sometimes they are ahead of the Sun, sometimes they are behind the Sun. So Mercury, it is always within 30 degrees of Sun. And Shukra, it is at max 2 houses from Sun. We'll see what house means. We are near Sun. So I think so everything we have covered with this Kala Chakra. One point is that with respect to, as we are, because we are discussing about time, we have not covered our pralaya which are there. So there are 4 types of pralaya which are there. So one is the Naimetika pralaya, vocational pralaya, which occurs at the night of Brahma. At the end of this day, a pralaya occurs. Then there is a Prakritika pralaya, which is occurring at the end of Brahma's lifetime. And in 12th canto, 4th chapter, verse number 7 to 19, the Krama is given how it happens. So first there is no rain on earth for 100 years. Then a drought is, because then it leads to drought. drought leads to famine, there is starvation of the population, and they will consume one another. After that, the sun is in its annihilating form. So rays are so terrible, the sun is so scorching, it drinks up all the water of the ocean. But then because there is no rain, so it is not that the water is again coming back. All the motion, all the water is dried up. Then there is a fire of annihilation which arises from the mouth of Sankarshan. And that increases the force of wind. Okay? So wind and fire, they complement each other. Okay? Fire aggravates wind, wind aggravates fire. And that begins to burn the universe. So that causes all the planets which are there, they are affected and they become lifeless. Because all the life gets destroyed. Then there is a terrible wind which of destruction, which is there, which blows for 100 years. Then there are Samvardhaka clouds, which also appear in the lifting of the Govardhan hill. So Indra, in his anchors, he sent those um, clouds, and they cause the uh, huge rain, which is tremendous rain is produced. After that begins the gradual merging of the elements in reverse order. That is, so we have, as we have discussed, from sound, from sound comes the sky, from sky comes the touch, from touch comes the air, from air comes the form, from form comes the fire, from fire comes the taste, from taste comes the water, from water comes the smell, from smell comes the earth. Now this goes in the reverse direction. The earth element merges into water element merges into air into earth, water, fire, air, ether into ahankar into mahatattva, and like that the reverse is in the um, reverse direction it is there. How it exactly happens? You may say, how is it that the earth is merging into water? Okay. So what it means is that is, as we know, the subsequent elements, they have the elements from the previous, they have the elements of the previous element also, the property, and they have their own unique properties. Meaning, ether has only sound. Now, air has sound and touch also, but it doesn't have form. Fire has form also, in addition to touch and sound. Water has taste also, and earth has smell also. So from earth, if you remove the air, if you remove the smell, it becomes water. It's a very subtle way. Okay, it is little difficult to imagine, but that is how it functions. Then from water, if you remove taste, only form is remaining, and that is fire. And in this way, in reverse direction, the elements merge back. And also that there is a flooding which is caused by the Samvardhaka planet. It caused the inundation of the entire Brahmanda. So entire Brahmanda, the ocean they rise so much, the Garbhodaka ocean it rises, it covers all the 14 planets, and everything is dissolved. And then they merge back into the previous layers, and that is how the binding of the universe is. Then we have is the Atyantiki Pralaya. That is when Jiva attains Mukti. There is the destruction of the um, ego of the Jiva. And that is known as the Atyantika Pralaya. Because the ego is destroyed and it's a big thing. That is why it is known as a different name. That is also a Pralaya. And then there is a Nitya Pralaya, which is described. That is the constant Pralaya, because everything which we know, the only thing which is constant in this world is the change. So everything, every moment, There's a change which is there. Every moment there's creation, every moment there's a destruction. That is known as the Nitya Pralaya. In this way, we have the fourth Pralaya, which is this was one topic which was to be discussed. So, any doubts with respect to Shigrocha Mandocha and which we have covered? Because now we will, if everything is covered, now we will enter into Jyotish. Are there any doubts with respect to this? We can ask. Otherwise, we will proceed further. No doubts are there. Okay, so then we can proceed further. We'll be discussing about the Kala Chakra, the Jyotish part of it. We are not going to now. Jyotish is actually a very vast subject. It is impossible to understand the entirety of Jyotisha, which is there. Okay. We'll just see the glimpse of it, how Jyotish functions. Before that, we have to understand a very important point, series of points which are there. That because it becomes very difficult to reconcile. Devotees, they find it very difficult. Like told you if there is a karmic reaction, how it works, how Jyotish is there. If we are getting the fruits of our reaction only, then what is that Jyotish, the remedies which are spoken about? First, you have to understand that uh, everyone on this planet is under the cycle of Kala Chakra. So the law of karma applies to all the living entities in this world, irrespective of wherever they are. No one can escape the Kala Chakra, the karma. Because it is because of the karma only, because of Kala and karma only, that this creation is actually being brought forth. Okay? As we saw, the glands consist of the Kala, karma, and Swabhava. And the lotus which sprouts from the navel of Vishnu, Sarvadaksha Vishnu, that is also uh, the sprouting and the blueness and the color of that lotus is caused by the karma and sabha which is there, all the jivas. So because of the Kala Chakra, because of the karma only, we have the everyone is there and they get their body with respect to the karma which they have performed. Now, also, it is to be understood that um, the one point which came in my mind, forgot it, which was with respect to uh, the Production Vishnu. If I remember it again. I will speak about it. Yeah, Kala Chakra. Why we have it? Of course, in the previous session also we had covered this. That why we have the Kala Chakra, why we have the Navagraha and everything is there. So countless number of lifetimes we have gone through, and we have acquired huge set of karma which is there, and and we have the karmic reaction which is there. It is not that in one go only you can get the all the reaction of all the karma which is there. It is like if you have the water stored in a tank, okay, you just cannot have all the water come for gush out in a single moment. So you have a tap, and you can adjust the flow of the water. And likewise, the water, it comes from there. It comes from the tap. Okay. So in that way, you can use the water. So similarly, the Kala Chakra which is there, it gives us the reactions of our fruits, of our karmic activities which we have performed. And it is so that in one lifetime, in one go only, we cannot have all the reactions. We cannot suffer all, we cannot enjoy or suffer all of them. So Kala Chakra is a mechanism through which our karmic activities are regulated, and in different lifetimes we get the different uh, the actions of our different uh, karmas which we have performed. Okay, so this is the functioning of Kala Chakra, which is there like a regulatory. It is there. Now the karma which we perform, it is of four sections are there. Aprarabh, Puta, Bij, and Prarabh. Prarabh karma, Prarabh refers to the karma which we are currently experiencing. Okay, and it is also known by the name Falunmukha because it is currently 55, and also the body and everything which we have got. This is because of the Prarabdha karma, as we have discussed that every person he has a certain height, certain complexion, is born in a certain family, the gender which he has, everything which he is doing or he is going to do, that is because of the karma, the karmic reactions which are there. That is known as the prarabdha. Bija refers to the karma which is about to become prarabdha. They are about to be experienced. So those who are in the fifth grade, now when they will come to the 10th grade, so they are about to 55. They are still there. They are in the form of impressions, and they will materialize in this lifetime only. Okay? So whatever we are going to experience in future, in current lifetime only, that is known as the bija. Puta refers to the reactions which are about to become bija, and they will be experienced in the next life. So whatever we do in this lifetime, okay, they become in the form of puta. Some are accumulated, some majority of our next lifetime is decided by the actions of our current lifetime, and I mean, it is not fixed in different people. Okay, sometimes it is that a person he is destined to take birth 100 human births, so and so species and so with such and such configuration. Then it is predestined, but majority times it is in our current lifetime only we decide the activities of our next lifetime. Then we have the aprarabh karma which are there, which are not prarabh. They are not to be experienced in this lifetime at all. But they will be, its effect will be manifested in the form of Puta Bija Prarabdha. They will be experienced in future life. And many a times the Bija, because they are to be experienced in this lifetime, they are often classified as Prarabdha. Okay? So Bhakti is only there which can destroy the Prarabdha, Aprarabdha, Bija, Puta. Sixth canto, as we had discussed, that Parikshit Maharaj says that jnana, karma, they are not the proper atonement. They are not the proper prayashchit because they do not destroy the heat of karmic reactions. Again, the plant will grow. It is by bhakti only which it can be destroyed. Okay? So this thing has to be understood. So everyone is there in the karmic cycle. It is only by bhakti that the all the prarabdha, everything will be destroyed. And bhakti destroys it. Now, when a person is there in this world, in the Kala Chakra, getting the reaction of his karmas, and that is how he is there. He's stuck in that. When one takes to the path of bhakti, the way to explain is that you can say that Krishna takes the file of his karma in his hands. Okay? And to the degree he is surrendered, to the degree he is there in bhakti, to that degree Krishna interferes with his bhakti, with his karma. What is this interference which is there? In a normal person's lifetime, he is getting the reactions of his fruitive activity, the karma which he has performed. In a bhakta's life, the karma, sometimes Krishna completely burns the karma. So the devotee, he never experiences that karma. Krishna just deletes that from his life. Sometimes Krishna gives more karma. What is not there in his karmic file, he adds more karma. Sometimes the same karma is there, but he intensifies it. In case of suffering, he is magnifying the pain of suffering. Or sometimes he is reducing the intensity. If a devotee is to meet with a very, very fatal accident, so Krishna just ends up, he just removes the karma, the reaction of accident. Sometimes he just causes a minor accident. Or if it is a case of a minor accident, Krishna intensifies. Why it is done? It is only with a point that he advances in his bhakti. And it is not that generally it is that Krishna only steals the material opulence. Yasya Graha means verse which is there 10.8, 8.8. But generally that is done because the devotee, the more he is, more suffers because we remember the Lord more in when we are in pain. So suffering, but it is not that every time it is there. Sometimes Krishna, he gives more resources, more material success to a person because that's what he wants. So in case of a devotee, and this hastashep, this interference to the degree the devotee surrender. If he is completely surrendered, so that God is taking full charge of the devotee's karma. And also, it is the karmic reaction which Krishna is giving is from his file only, from that jiva's karmic reaction only. And Krishna can sometimes intervene and he can change. And we don't know. And we will come to that. Now, when a person is burnt up, and now bhakti, and simultaneously bhakti is destroying all his prarabdha karma. All aprarabdha karma is destroyed. So when all the aprarabdha karma is destroyed, that is known as the bhajan anartha nivritti stage. When we have these sadhus, the shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, and then the anartha nivritti. So it's a whole spectrum which is there. And when the asakti, ruchi, bhava, prema, and that is there, that forms when all anarthas are destroyed, all the sins are destroyed. Okay, only the aparadhas they remain. One has done Vaishnava aparadha. Even after bhajan nivritti, the anartha nivritti it remains. It remains up until it remains in bhava bhakti also. It is only in prema bhakti that is destroyed. That is the example of Jada Bharat. Why he fell down? It was because of the aparadha, the aparadha which he had done, some Vaishnava aparadha, whatever aparadha. It is not because of his karmic reaction, because he was on the stage of bhava. There is no karma which is there. So in the bhajan, anartha nivritti at the end, all the prarabdha is destroyed. Only the prarabdha is there which is remain. That is his body is continuing. And that state is known as Jivan Mukti. And then gradually the devotee gives us his body, goes back to God. With all its karmic reaction, everything is destroyed. Now, Jyotish is a sign of knowing, it's a time science. So when Bhakti Padma Sarvaswat Swami Maharaj says it, it's a time science. And through Jyotisha, you can know the reactions of your karma. Okay? Whatever karma which you have done, so what is going to happen? What is going to happen is the fruits of those actions. That is known from Jyotish. So what happens in general in people's life? They face the action of their karma only. So that can be seen from chart. When they are born, when a person is born, that time I had explained it before yesterday in the previous session also. A snapshot of the entire sky is taken, and whatever position the planets are, and they have a particular influence on the um, the living entity which is there. And that is how the karmic residual which is there he experiences. Because all the planets they have on their Tara Tattva, we will discuss Tara Tattva means. So that is how it has to be understood. So in the case of a devotee also, because Krishna can change the the reactions, that cannot be known from the chart. So therefore, if a Vaishnava chart is seen, or even those who are practicing, it will be said, okay, this is going to happen according to karma, but Krishna can change it. That doesn't mean the Jyotish is wrong. Jyotish is just showing the fruits of the reactions of your karma which is there in your chart. If you are a devotee, Krishna can change it. Okay, he can intensify, he can reduce, he can just bring a new karma or destroy the karma completely. And that is in relation to how much you have surrendered to the Lord. Okay? If one is just 5% surrendered, the other 95% it can be seen from the chart. And in that way only it happens. Okay. So therefore we see that we have many examples in history. The devotee he was about to leave his body, but then his life got extended. So Jyotish is not wrong. Jyotish says that in within 5 days or 5 years, 5 months, he's going to die. Now Krishna somehow extends his life. In some cases, in devotees, now because Krishna doesn't want to extend. So there's no extension in what, according to the reaction which is got, which is there, he gets it. And in devotees who are in work in progress, not that all the karma Krishna interferes. The karma which Krishna feels that this will bring him close to bhakti, in that way interface. Otherwise, the same karmic reaction is continuing. So Jyotish is not wrong. There's nothing wrong in it. Now another level. Apart from this also, there are three gunas which are there in this material. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Those who are in very highly sattvic state, Rishi Muni and also some people in this current Yuga, they can choose the karma. The karmic reaction, it is there. They are going to die. But because they are so sattvic in nature, they can choose whether to have it or not. And how Ichha Nirukti is given. So if there is no harm in it, you please understand that how it works is he is going to die at some point of time. But the option is given. Jyotish will tell what the time is going to die according to the karma. It may or may not happen in the case of a very sattvic person or in the case of a Vaishnava. Or also in the case of Vaishnava also. Because Krishna changed it. Krishna has full control. Now one has gone through the Anartha Nivrutti and is a pure full bhakta, is purified his own existence. That devotee also has the option of choosing karma. Okay? That is there. Because now a Vaishnava sattvic person has it, but a devotee also has. So three cases are there wherein Jyotish will say something, but it may not work. One, in the case of very sattvic person, so he can choose. In case of a Vaishnava, very Uttam Koti Vaishnava, because he can also choose. And in case of devotees also, he cannot choose, but Krishna can change. This is how it works. Because, and Jyotish is not wrong. Again, I am emphasizing on this. It's going to happen what is there in your chart, what is there going to happen according to your karma. Jyotish tells that. Now, there is something known as parihar, upaya. This has to be done. This is then this will be. So you may be asked that if there is the thing that no son will be born to a particular couple, but then in Jyotish we say that, oh, if you do this karma, if you do this yagna, if you do this, then you beget a karma, then you will beget a son. How it is that? Again, there is no contradiction. When he goes through that thing, parihar which is there, he is creating a karma, he is doing punya, he is creating a karma, by that he begets a son. Okay, or in different cases, whatever is happening. So it is not changing of karma. There is no karma that you will beget a son. But if you do the parihar, then you are creating a karma, you are creating a punya because of it, which is also the other thing. you are going to get good things. But you mess up with your free will, you do all sort of nonsensical things. You are creating so much of sin which is there, which that you end up suffering. So in chart it will look he's a very successful person. Okay, of course the indications will be there. We'll see it, what it means, and that is how it happens. So with that parihar which is there, that is the technical name is parihar. So it can be done. Now again this thing which is there. So see why we do parihar, and there is some dosha which is there in the chart. The dosha are also of two types: kala dosha and kundali dosha. Many times you must have heard. So this dasha is going on. Okay, be aware of it. You can meet with an accident, so be careful of it. There can be some skin disease, some eye disease, so be careful. And then you see that it doesn't happen. You take the precautions and it doesn't. So you may say that how is it so? The karma is going to happen. How did it not mitigate it? No. Okay. The thing is, it is a kala dosha. It is not that it is there in your karma, but it's a time. It's a bad time. The sun, the planets are revolving. The transit is inauspicious. So you are a good person, but you are at a bad place. Okay. So if you are a good person, if you are at a place, okay, if you are in some with, there are some gangster who is sitting, who is there or near to you, and they have done some karma, they have done some heinous crime. The police come, they interrogate. They will also interrogate you. You say, I've not done any bad thing. But you were there, you may be knowing something. So a police interrogation may go through, you may go through the interrogation. Similarly, there is the time is inauspicious. Okay? Or there is the indication, there is a possibility of this being happening. So if you take the precautions, it doesn't happen. Okay? But then there are some kundli dosha, which is it is there in your kundli that you are not going to beget a son. The kundli dosha. For that, parihar can be done. For the other thing, kala dosha, it is only precautions. Okay, there are parihar, of course. Okay, you take care of it, and if it is done properly, it will not happen. In the kundli dosha, which is there, by the parihar, of course, it can be, it has to be very sincerely, properly, yagna, dana, tapa, okay, different things which are there. It has to be done very sincerely. Otherwise, you will not create the sufficient punya to beget a son or whatever desire it is there. Now, it doesn't mean that everything can be reversed. No. This parihar can also be done when it is devanukuli. But in the chart, when there is some kulli dosha. So when you see a chart, the predictions are given. Okay, this will happen, this will always be there. Some are kala dosha. But you be aware of this thing. At this time, this may happen, this can happen. If you take the precautions, and also if you do the right things, if it is auspicious muhurta, it's auspicious time, then the auspiciousness in the wholesome, it increases. And the more you will get benefit. Some are only those. Oh, no, this is not possible in your opinion. Now, if Parihar is done, it is Devanukuli, the position of Jupiter is in. Because Jupiter is Devanukuli. So if, it is seen that yes, Jupiter, that problem which is there, Jupiter is giving an auspicious aspect to it, or it is somehow related, there is an auspicious combination there. Then if the parihar is done with the proper, so although the indication is that it may succeed, but it has to be done with proper, like in previous times there used to be yagna and so many things which were done, but with the proper methodology, only then it will succeed. If it is not Devanupoli, no matter how much sincerity, how much you do, parihar will not work. It has to be Devanupoli. That is how it is there. So all the things are fit for Vaishnav, Avaishnav, Jyotish, Karma, Parihar, and then Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and Parihar when it is working, Kala dosh, Kundli dosh. Kundli dosh also Parihar working, but when it has to be Devanu. Therefore, it is a very expert Jyotisha, supposed to be seen. Now, also there is one more point. Sri Samprada, as they explained, that see what happens is, there is an Acharya line, there is Alvar's line. 12 hours. Their chart should not be seen because they are beyond the karma. All associated with the Lord. One was the counsel of the Lord, one was the sword of the Lord. They come. They are beyond karma. Their chart should not be seen. And Acharya, who are there. So what happens is Krishna, the Lord gives some prarabdha karma to all these Nitya Siddhas, Prabhupada, because they are coming this world. Yeah, they are not of this world. But to get a material body, to do something, some prarabdha karma is given. That prarabdha karma can be seen from Jyotish. Okay? Like we have Prabhupada. He had a certain complexion, certain height, an accent, certain life situation. That can be seen from the chart. But again, because he is a sattvic person, because he is a uttam bhakt, because Krishna is personally there, the devotee can choose. So indication can be given, this is things are going to happen. And then the devotee can choose. And also, so these are Nitya Siddha, and Nitya Parshad who are there. Their chart also should not be seen. Like I started with Swami and they. So, you know, there is no use of seeing their chart. The Nitya Siddhas who are there, or the Acharyas who are there, their chart can be seen to know what activities they will do. Like in Prabhupada's chart, it was said 108 temples he will establish. So that can be very well known from the chart. Also, uh, so the prarabdha is given. There is also the point, free will. In the Jyotish, the circumstances are given, but still the free will is there. And also, we can get an indication of the mind mentality of the person. Now, the point that, I mean, I used to think very particularly that you forget about destiny and free will. That is okay one thing. Destiny in the sense that, you know, what is there, the situation is there, but you have the free will of responding. I used to think that, I'd asked this Maharaj, Maharaj, that does Krishna know what we are going to choose? If I'm sitting at this place and I've got two options. Option A, option B. Does Krishna know what I'm going to choose? It's a very tricky question, apparently. If the answer is yes, if the answer is no, then oh, Krishna doesn't know. He's omniscient. He's the supreme personal Godhead. How can he not know this? Okay? So he should know, but otherwise, how is the supreme personality of Godhead? So know everything, everything which a living entity is going to do, he has done, he's going to do. Everything is should know. So if the answer is yes, he knows. But then if he knows, then what he knows is going to happen. So how is the free will is there? If Krishna knows that this so and so thing is going to happen, how the free will is there? If what Krishna knows that is going to happen, if not that something different will happen. So how is it so? So the answer is both the things are simultaneously there. Krishna's knowing of what's going to happen is going to happen doesn't mean that our free will is affected. Very simple example is a mother knows her child very well. So two things are given. She'll very easily say to someone that, he's going to choose option A. Now, because the mother has foretold this, that doesn't mean the child's free will is hindered, hampered. He still has this uh, free will which is there. Okay. So if a mother can know, then why not can the Supreme Person know? He is all knowing. He knows the past, present, future of all the living beings, everything. And the mother, just on the basis of, because she knows the child, the nature of her child, on that basis she speaks. So both the things are simultaneously there. Krishna knows, of course, he knows in the sense that he doesn't care to actually bother. He is now immersed in his own Leela. Krishna has given us the free will. He never interferes. Only in the case of his bhaktas, to the degree they are surrendered, he interferes. And to those devotees who are free, fully purified, and there also Krishna interferes. And there is those bhaktas, they have the ability to choose other. So there is why it is said. Also in 6th canto, we find the verse that Yamaraj, he kind of knows what is going to happen. He knows it. all the living entities, you know, able to know future. How it is to be known, understood? Paramatma within his heart, he reveals to him what is. So his knowing doesn't impact our free will. You cannot just justify that, oh, you know, what is going to happen will happen. No. What is going to happen will happen is not how you can, you know, go through or go around this. Now the next point of suicide. Often it is said that why a ghost body is given? Because he is going to live a mental 60 years. But he commits suicide at the age of 40. Next ghost body is not decided. So 20 years gap is there. What will he do? A ghost body is given. Now I have a question. So I had asked this question. That does Yamaraj know about he's going to do suicide or not? Because he knows what is there, what is going to happen. Now, if the question is yes, or even forget about Yamaraj, even in karma, if it is there that he's going to commit suicide, then the other body should be ready because it is known, it is, and it's a big thing. Major events of our life is fixed. Birth, disease, the spouse, education, how much wealth is going to come, how much wealth is going to be expended, you know, be spent is fixed. So free will is what you are going to do for the wealth, or the means of wealth. Or by the time you are doing, what do you do? It's a mix of it. Okay? In Jyotish, we get a good understanding of that. And also in the case of devotees, you know, Vaishnav, Krishna can change when he is going to die. Okay, he can change that. Or even in highly sattvic people, Rishi Muni, even today we can have some people. In case of very pure devotees, they can change. So the answer is yes. Jyotish, you can see very clearly. You can see that this time is going very bad time. There's a full indication of free suicide, but the free will is there. The free will, he can avoid not committing suicide. If he commits suicide, then it is his fault. Now, Yamaraj knowing is not the problem. Yamaraj only knows what is going to happen. That doesn't mean you can say, oh, now Yamaraj knows that he's going to commit suicide. We should now prepare a subtle gross body for him beforehand only. The Lord never interferes. Why will Yamaraj interfere? Okay? So that is how it has to be understood. So yeah, so these are all different facets. Everyone in this life, in this world, is under the karmic reaction. We get the reactions of our karma, prarabdha karma, and the prarabdha which is we are experiencing. Bija is what we are going to experience, and Kuta is the next lifetime karma. Through Jyotish, we see the reactions of our karma. The parihar which is there, it is only Jyotish, we see what is going to happen. Now, there are Kala dosha and Kundali dosha. Kala dosha, it is not your karma, but the timing is the time. Planetary influence such that something bad can happen, so precautions are taken. It will not happen, or something. It's a very good time, so you do it, and your thing which you are going to do, some benefit thing, it magnifies the uh, auspiciousness of that activity. Parihar also, it can be done because you create punya, but it has to be done very properly. The people used to do huge yajna and all. So any one mistake and all the everything is gone. And that also, it can only be succeeded if you do properly. But before that, the proper ideal Jyotisha, he sees that will it fructify or not? Because it has, will it work on it? Devanukul has to. If the Devanukul is not there, then the no matter how much properly you do the parihar, it will not fructify. Okay, so this case is there. Also, there is another angle of Vaishnava. The Vaishnava Ganas, Krishna takes the fire in his hands, and to the degree the devotee surrender, to that degree the Krishna interferes. Sometimes he removes the karma, sometimes he burns the karma, sometimes he lets the devotee suffer more karma, he gives more karma, sometimes he changes the intensity of the karma so that he advances in path of bhakti. And in the case of Anantavritti, is then all the simultaneous bhakti is destroying all the karmic reactions. In the case of highly sattvic soul, they can choose the karma. And Rajasic people, they have no choice. Okay, that's why in Jyotish many times he said, there is no hope for this person. Everything in his life is fixed. There is no, he never uses his intelligence. Tamasic people or Rajas people, there they don't have the choice. Then in devotees who are very pure, thereby their existence, they also have the facility of choosing the karma. They can choose the life, the death of their life, their uh, of their birth. So this is there. So these are the all facets which are there. Any doubts on this? No doubts? I thought there will be doubts.
Hare
So very okay. And all of this which I have spoken, it is not my own concoction. Today only, I through the audio message I had like this what I've spoken about, because there were some discussions with His Holiness Bhaktipada Swami Maharaj, and it is like culmination of all those discussions. Today afternoon only I had given the audio. Maharaj, you please, I had narrated all the things. So please verify if everything is correct. Then uh, uh, Maharaj said that this is correct. So it is Maharaj certified. All the things which I have spoken. Question: what do we mean by choosing karma? Choosing karma in the sense that uh, because the death is a very good example, but in any other case we can choose. But the devotee is going to die in 1000 in 5 days. Karma shows. But the devotee can choose to not die. He can extend his life. That is simple. We can choose it. Does that answer the question? So the karma will show. Yes, karma will show that now he's going to die in 5 days, but he changes it. The Krishna changes. Okay, so that is there. And even in and one more point, they saw acharyas to come to this world. Some prarabdha karma is given to them because they have this knowledge. So is it clear?
Krishna.
Not audible. Actually, you are not audible. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, sir.
Prabhu, I had a doubt regarding parihar. I wanted to know that whatever karma one performs, that gets fructified in our next life. Because what we are facing now is what we had done in our previous life. So how is it that the parihar or the solutions that we perform, we get the results of those activities within this lifetime? They should be we should get the results of those activities in the next lifetime, right? Imagine if I'm not destined to have a child, and if I do some yajna and then I get a child. But how is it that I get the result of that yajna which I'm performing in this lifetime itself? I should get the result of the yajna in the next lifetime, right?
Because you're saying that the karma, whatever we do, it forms the prarabdha karma, and that prarabdha karma is felt in the next.
In the
That's
next
very
lifetime,
good.
because what we are doing, yeah, because whatever happiness or distress we are getting in this lifetime is because of our previous karma.
No, but yeah, it's there. But the punya which is done, the procedure is such that the fruits are instantaneously felt. Of course, there are some parihar, some things which are done, which the fruits, the result is felt in the next lifetime. Now, for example, people used to do yajna to attain swarga. That's not that instantly they would attain swarga. Those the parihar, and that is not parihar, that is not a remedy, that is something they are doing the punya. Okay, the basic thing is to create karma and thereby, mitigate the problem which is there. So some karma which are there, the process is such that you get in the next lifetime. In these cases, the process does that you instantly get not instantly, I mean, whatever time period, you get the reaction. But it's not exactly that every time whatever karma you do, it first becomes your prarabdha, and only in the next lifetime. Not in this. Some karma they are instantly felt. They become part of your prarabdha. So it is not that every activity which you
Also,
do that is like forms your prarabdha of the next life. Many a times we do some endeavor in this lifetime and we get the reaction in this lifetime. Forget about pariyat. Normal thing also. If you are studying for the exam previous night, okay, or for 1 week you are preparing, you are getting the food in this exam on the day of the exam. So it is not that everything which you do, the fruits are stored in the. Some fruits are felt in this lifetime, some are felt in the next life. How it works. Now the indication can be seen through the, in case of the normal activity, through the Buddhist. You can see that during this lifetime, during this time period, this is that he is going to study very hard. That thing can be seen from the chart. What is happening. Okay. So some fruits are felt in this lifetime, some in the next. Clear?
also, Prabhu, we've learned from the teachings of Prabhupada that karma is not like integers, that -2 + 2 becomes 0. So, how is it that the bad karma of our previous life becomes mitigated its results when we perform some punya karma? Shouldn't it that we also have to face those bad karma and then the good karma that we are doing, we get the result?
That's why I use the word create karma. There is no, see, unless one gets a curse that you will not make it a son, then that is not Devanupam. There's a condition also for the pariyar to work. Two conditions. Number one, it should be Devanupam. Number two, you should do it properly. It is Devanupuli, but it is not done properly. If it is not Devanupuli, you have done to the best. And that Devanupuli, so the chart you see, which is Guru. So then it is not that a curse which is there. It is just that you don't have the karma to beget a son. To beget a son, it's punya activity which is there. And that is not there in your chart. So you will not get a son. That's what you are talking about. It's some case that you are going to suffer very terribly when you mitigate it. Again, in that case, the chart is seen. If it is a kala dosh, it is not there in your kundli. It is somehow you are going through a very bad dasha. So some precautions can be taken and you will not. Suppose it is there in your chart, but it is Devanupali. That can be mitigated. And it is there in your chart and it is not Devanupali. No matter what you do. So it is an ideal Jyotish, he will simply say that look, you're going to suffer through this, no matter whatever happens. In this case, if he is a Vaishnava, Krishna can mitigate. Also, there is one more point I forgot to mention in that series. The demigods, if he does upasana, the demigod. Now, demigods, they cannot change your karma. It is not that you -2 is there and then you do +2 and then -2 +2 is 0. But they can change the order of karma. So this suffering of this lifetime, they can postpone it to some other future lifetime. Of some punya of the ahead of some future lifetime they can begin. They can just change the order of karma. That's why karma kand is not recommended. That's why this demigod worship is not recommended at the end. Because see, in a few, in a in this lifetime, we will say that oh, we got rid of, we prayed. Someone is very devout bhakta of Agni Dev, he will change the karma. But he is not cancelling your karma. He is just postponing. And he is not preponing. He is just preponing some good activity. So demigods, they can change the order of karma. That's it. No one can destroy karma. Only Krishna can destroy. Is that clear?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
So, I mean, I hope the first question is also answered in this. I mean, if at all you have any doubt, I don't mind, I can explain it again. Or any other possible case which you want to discuss, you can discuss. But it is very important. Okay, because generally devotees have a lot of confusion because there are so many things. It is just how the concomitants, karma, bhakti, pariyar, jyotish, how it is there and it's there. But Everything is, there is no contradiction. It's proper samanvaya can be done. So if any doubt is there, any subtle doubt is there, you can very frankly ask. There is no problem.
Prabhu, could you share some reference like you shared for Golokachart? You asked us to read the commentaries of Srila Jiva Goswami and Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj. That was very helpful. And then you also shared Bhagavad cosmology to understand this Kala Chakra and everything. So can you share some reference for much better study of Jyotish?
So for Jyotish, you are saying, not for what I have spoken this.
Yes. For what you have spoken.
This is not from Jyotish. Not from Jyotish in the sense that, it's a general, actually it's a general knowledge. It's
Yes,
not that in
this.
Jyotish you understand. For this you are saying for each and every point. Now, first point was everyone suffers the actions of his reactions. It's a very common thing. So, I just, that verse, Karmani Lipyanti, it is there. And he's getting the reaction from Jyotish. We see the what is going to happen in the fall of your karma. That you can find in many Brihad Parasar, Yoga Shastra, in Jaimini Sutras, many places. Krishna can change the karma. 10.18.8 you can read, and in Prabhupada's, and for 2 days I'm finding, but I'm only able to find it. Over in one verse he mentions that, but many places he has mentioned that Paramatma is impartial. He gives the actions of its the reaction of the karma to the non-devotee. From in devotee's case, he gives the uh, he gives the he changes the karma so that he can advance in the that is to burn the karma is a well-known thing. And in one purport, in third or fourth canto, Krishna says that sometimes Krishna burns the karma in the dreams of the devotee. He doesn't want the devotee to suffer. In his dreams, he's burning the karma. And also, beyond that, when we take Diksha, Guru takes a karma. It is said that so it is not the Guru has to go through all the karma. Krishna absorbs most of the karma. Some karma, Krishna lets the Guru suffer. In some portion, what happens is Krishna in his dreams he lets it go. That's why he said that when Diksha is going, I heard from the devotee called Radhana Maharaj. So, actually, dreams which is there, because all the karma which is there of all the disciples which he accepts. So, we just cannot imagine what kind of karma or the kind of dreams which is so through the dreams which is mentioned. In purport, it is mentioned. The fact that Satvik person can choose, um, uh, devotee can choose, a devotee can choose is mentioned in the Bhakti Sambhava and Jyoti Sambhava. So he's beyond the cycle of time. A very Satvik person can choose. See, some things they are to be experienced. Okay? When we study from the Parampara, that's why we study everything from a Parampara. The Jyotish also the Parampara. Madhva Sampradaya also. It is the realization, not real, it is the understanding which is. The point that we devote to the demigods, they can change the order of the karma. It is, I have not found any reference in Vedic literature. Maharaj had told me. And Maharaj told that these are something which are to be, Anubhav has to be done. Has to be experienced. That way it is. Some parampara knowledge is also. But I'm completely sure that somewhere or the other reference will be there. I'm not sure. But there is no doubt about it. Every point which I've spoken, not because I have spoken, but it is verified by Maharaj. So you can take it as homework and you can research about it. I had to, actually, I should have done what it is there in many, it is scattered around to bring back and then, it's, it's, but roughly what are directions which are there, the devotee, the karma arban is there in the third and the fourth canto. You can search, okay, in the Veda ways you can search. Three karma, so burn, karma, you can search in that way. But the point that the demigods, they can change the order of karma. They cannot destroy karma, that is well known fact. I have not found any reference, but Maharaj recommends. Any other question? So any question there, please be free to ask. If you think something is wrong, if you think you have come under another understanding, or you had something, you have heard something else somewhere else, you can clarify. There is no problem. It is very important. That's why this course is done, so that they know. Because what happens is people are very concerned. Some one devotee was telling me, he says that it is not as soon as one takes up to the path of bhakti, is beyond the reactions of the karma. Okay, so whatever karma he is experiencing, Krishna is giving him. So there's a pure devotee and there's a perfected pure devotee. So as soon as you take up to the path of bhakti, you are a pure devotee. You're not a perfected. So there is no karma and nothing. It is true that it is mentioned in Shastra. As soon as one takes to the path of bhakti, uh, immediately it comes out beyond the karmic reaction. But it has to be understood. It is a kavya alankar, artha alankar which is there, which is that the effect is so uh, amazing that as soon as the cause has occurred, we say that effect manifests. It is like as soon as one meets the devotee, our Elizabeth, he is liberated. What it means? Sadhu Sangam. So when he meets a devotee, Sadhu Sangam, I think Kriya will happen. Another thing will happen. When Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prem. After that, liberation is there. But the thing is, the song of the devotee, it is so and it's so powerful that it is just mentioned that the effect is just mentioned as if it is happening, going to happen right after the cause. That is how it is shown. So, do not that as soon as one takes up to the path of bhakti, is beyond the reaction. Is suffering. You can see here this. You go to show it to the proper Jyotisha, they will show in your charts. If you play that law, now we have taken to the path of bhakti, the intensity and Krishna can change. But it is not that everything will Krishna will change. Any doubt, please? Anything which is there. There is no. Any doubts? No doubts. Okay. I suppose then everything that I've spoken about is clear. Quick thing, everything is clear. And that free will, or that regarding free will also, because Krishna knows it doesn't mean that the mother knows what her child is going, her child is going to pick up, choose, and doesn't hinder the child's choice. So that is how it is there. I think so. Because the class is getting later. It's 2 days. So we will cover Jyotish tomorrow. Tomorrow we will conclude. And our very important thing to tell that. His Holiness Bhakti Parasara Prasad Swami Maharaj. He will be also joining tomorrow's session for some time. Maharaj, he will kindly accepted it. And I don't know what Maharaj is going to speak about. So if there are some questions, maybe Maharaj can take up. Okay. So tomorrow we'll conclude. Tomorrow we'll summarize everything what we have discussed up until now. And also today's remaining topic Jyotish, that also we will discuss. Uh, uh, and there's one more thing which is to be done. After we'll see tomorrow. So that was there for today's class. So the flow for tomorrow's class will be first we will cover the Jyotish part. which is remaining, 4 days remaining. Then we will summarize. By that time, I think the Maharaj will join. Then Maharaj will speak. Maharaj will take questions. We can also take some, if some of you has any question, you can ask anything. And then we'll be conclude. Conclusion is a different. So Jyotish, revision, and maybe perhaps Maharaj will join. And then conclusion, which is there. Okay? Even in Veda Vriksha, regarding the previous course, Maharaj had joined. And we have a concluding session. So it is a little different from what the course continues. It is like every course has a kind of. So that is there. So I request everyone to be please attend tomorrow's session live. We'll summarize everything. Even if you have not attended anything, still may not be able to understand full extent, but you will get some glimpse of it. So if you can also ask Maharaj if he's taking any question. So, please live attend the class because it is the concluding session. Whatever question is there, you can take up. You can take it up. I don't know how much time we will have. And the one thing which was remaining is if we still, after all these things, we find time, then we can discuss about the story of Kumar. We have all of everything. Many things are there. Tomorrow we'll begin sharp at 7 o'clock. But I'm thinking if I get time, so if possible, we'll begin from 6 because we have many things to do. Please live attend the sessions. And whatever doubt is there, today's session is also which is there. Think about it. Whatever doubt is there, because later it becomes very confusing. Each and every line which I've spoken throughout the course, great amount of research is done behind that. Okay? Because I'm not a very good orator. Okay, so not that if there is a very important point, then I will emphasize much on it. If I'm speaking in a normal tone, then it is a normal point. Every point is important. Don't go on my emphasis on some point. Everything, every and every line has to be understood. It has to be taken into consideration, and also something which are there. At least up until now, I had kind of gone through the sessions. No wrong information is given to you. Some clarification which is there, it is done in the next session. Right when we were discussing about this paragraph, some clarification, some point which I had wrongly talked about, that was clarified in the next session. So please listen to all the sessions. Somehow something may not be covered in detail. Somehow something gets clarified in the further session. So from the first minute of the first session to the last minute of the last session, it has to be heard about in its entirety. Then you can expect some that you will understand something. Okay, and throughout this course also, I have 3-4 times contacted express publisher for you. Whatever point is there, the Kala Chakra, this vertical motion which we were discussing about, today only Prabhuji had explained it to me. So we are clarifying it. So it is not that I am speaking something on my own or based on my reading of the books, but I also some critical points are there, so that is being clarified by Publisher Maharaj. So, and I know it's very difficult to actually understand all these things. I just speak in a flow. To be very honest, the course is actually agnostic to the level of understanding of the attendees. The course, the way it is, it will going to happen. Attendees, according to their capacity, according to what they have expectation. For some people, they are very curious, they want to know each and everything. So for them, repetitively hear the courses, go read the Bhagavad Cosmology book, Surya Siddhant book, listen to his course, listen to Gokul Chandra Guru's course, thereby have it. For those who just want to get an idea, just listen to it, whatever you can understand. Or I can give you a skip connection. That is just listen to the conclusion session, where also you will get everything. So we will discuss everything. So that is how it is there. How much you can take you to reach. It's like a river which is flowing. And according to your patra, you can go to come out. But roughly, you should know what is happening in the universe, what is happening in the spiritual world, how the culture is, how Shruti is. Something which you understand. They are all in the karmic reaction. What takes them to the path of bhakti. And Krishna is those who are very exalted soul, they can choose that. And Pariyar can take it can create punyam if it is there. These things, basic things you have to understand. What is the bhakti? Tomorrow we'll discuss about Jyotish. Don't think that you have understood Jyotish. I can tell you from my own personal experience when I'm studying Jyotish, searching about it by the blessings of Bhakti Maharaj. And I've also many other things somehow or other studied, but I've never found something as deep as Jyotish. Ishwar Darshana, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Vedanta philosophy, Sanskrit Vyakaran, Kavya Shastra, Ayurveda, Natya Shastra, the Upavedas which we have, the Upanishads, everything which you take, all the Agamas and Tantras which are there. I've never found anything to be as detailed as Jyotish. Just so detailed, just so many things are there. And when you study it more, how it is actually related to all this, to yoga, to Tantra Shastra, to Ayurveda, we'll see a glimpse of it in tomorrow's session. Don't think you know everything about Jyotish. No one can say that. And don't think that you can practice Jyotish. We'll discuss some points so you think that now. It's a very, very dynamic, subjective field. To practice Jyotish, it is not that anyone and everything. The chart has to be seen. First thing is, can he learn Jyotish? Although he may be very intelligent, but if it is there only, it is there in his chart, then he can learn Jyotish. Then to practice Jyotish, give consultancy. That can also be there. For some people, they can study Jyotish, they can understand Jyotish, they cannot practice. Then Parihar, that also has to be seen in the chart. When you do Parihar, because they can study Jyotish, they can give the consultation, and they cannot do Parihar. They recommend some other person. So that Yogyata has to be there. In Vedic system, it's not just Shamta which is there. I have the mind of Shamta. Yogyata has to be. Qualification has to be. That's why we have the example of about the name. That hunter which is there in Mahabharata. What is the name? His thumb was taken by Dronacharya. The
Ekalavya.
Ekalavya. Yes. So he had the Shamta. He was qualified. But Yogyata was not there. In Vedic culture, the Yogyata has to be seen. Sometimes doesn't matter. Sometimes you get by your karmic reaction. And then, of course, there are many more reasons. He's a demonic person. He didn't have the Yogyata. He couldn't handle that knowledge. He couldn't have used it in proper way. So don't think you have understood everything. And tomorrow, so that's why to be convinced of this fact, many things we will just give a hint of it, and you will understand the expanse of Jyotish. So with this there, we will conclude today's class. Now there are no doubts. Tomorrow then we will discuss. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudramaruta Stunmanti Divya Save Vedai Sangha Pada Krama Upanishive Gayanti Amsamala ध्यानावस्थितव्यगतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुषुरसुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Chila Prabhupada ki jai.